Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on this episode, we're playing here with my Cleric, who's over in Unrest, and you can see his level. He's level 16, almost about to be level 17. Now, I wanted to shoot another video here. I've actually been playing for about 20 minutes without the camera on, just to get a little bit of experience, because it has been leveling a little bit slower than I would like. I told you guys I would show you every minute of the game, but unfortunately my voice can't take it on some of these long stretches, so I have to let it rest. Otherwise, I'm constantly, trying to clear my throat or drink water while I'm talking to you guys. So I have to let it rest for 20-30 minutes there, guys. Please forgive me. But as soon as it's ready to go again, I go ahead and make another video on those few days where I get to play for 5-6 hours. And this has been one of those days where I actually had pretty much the whole day to myself. I got off early work. I got off of work early, I should say, and doing my best presentation of a Yoda right there. But we're over in Unrest, and like I said, I got off work today a little bit early, so managed to get on here. Found a group pretty quickly. I think within about the first 20 or 30 minutes, and it's been going pretty well so far. Since, I mean, we've had a few trains here and there that would really slow us down for about an hour, I think. But other than that, do we want another healer? It's fine with me. Because we already have 2 clerics, so don't necessarily need an extra one, but we don't have anybody here for the final slot anyway, so we might as well get somebody. It doesn't really matter to me as long as they can get experience and there's nobody else taking the spot. Then why not go for it? But we're inside the main room for those of you who are not familiar with this area. And most of the videos that I had been shooting from over here on this side. And I figured, I've been showing you the same perspective almost for all the videos. So I decided to come over here and sit on this side. I know concept just blows your mind, right? But it is a different perspective, and it kind of does change the room up a little bit. Instead of all looking at that same door over and over again, just moving from one side to the other, another cleric, can really change things up if you've been in the room for too long. It's a very simple, very easy method to kind of make the room that you've gotten so familiar with just a tad bit more exciting for just a little bit longer. I mean, I'm not getting bored with this room by any means of the sense, but I've been in rooms like that in Lower Guck and things of that sort, where you're sitting there hunting over and over for days, sometimes weeks, in the same room. When you start getting to some of these levels, I think it starts at 30, and then it's every 5 levels after that, that the experience you get now needs to be doubled or quadrupled, or times it by 10, just to get the same amount of experience basically on your bar. So, if 10 kills would get you an entire bubble, and that's outrageous, obviously. You wouldn't get an entire bubble off of 10 kills unless it was something really, really high. But if 10 kills were a bubble in level 39, when you go to level 40, now, say 1,000 kills would get you a bubble. So yeah, I mean, it's greatly increased how many creatures and how many mobs you have to just constantly kill. But the level range is still the same in a zone. So I'm in this group probably from level 14, maybe up to level 19. I've seen pretty much the highest here. We have a level 20 cleric right now, but he's probably not making that much more experience here than he would like. I mean, he probably wants to be upstairs in a room up there. But so from level 14 to say level 20. What's this guy doing? I'm not the leader, am I? Nope. I don't know why he came over here and sat right in front of me. Not from the wizard. Undead, in fact, yeah. If he's high enough level. And the rest, I don't mind a lot of clerics. So, yeah. But yeah, it's just a different way of changing your perspective so that it doesn't get too old. Well, second, I don't want to let somebody die with 3 clerics here and nobody's healing anybody. That would be the worst fail out of all of it. Sorry, I thought you wanted me to blast. No, I thought you wanted me to blast. Wait, you were blasting? Just play it out in my head. That would be the most embarrassing thing ever. As it is, I feel pretty bad, and I don't even know if I should yet, but they have a lot of disease in this one, rabies and things of that sort in this zone. And I've mentioned it before, but you should have Cure Disease, and somebody told me that it's a pretty low-level spell. And the Paladin here has Cure Disease, so I'm pretty sure they're right, because Paladins don't even get spells into their level 9, and then the spells they get are usually level 1 Cleric spells. So yeah, it's pretty old stuff, and if he has it, and I'm a Cleric, then I definitely should have it. And yet, I don't, so that just means that I probably didn't buy it, and it's probably available. I just have to go check it out. But I feel pretty bad. 1 second, somebody's sending me a text. So if you hit full mana, have an undead nuke loaded. I guess I could do some... Oh, there's our ding. Oh my god. Somebody was talking in chat channel earlier. They have three clerics in their group, and they were looking for more people. Mostly all they had, apparently, was 1 tank and 3 clerics. And that's a pretty good combination down here because of the undead spellcasting. But they were calling it a revival, and they're doing like some weird take on it. And now one of our guys just replied back saying, you know, so much for your revival. We now have 3 clerics in our group. And it's kind of funny how it just plays off of what somebody else was saying like an hour ago. But you know they're still in the zone because people don't go to different places that quickly. And like Everquest 2, if somebody said something an hour ago, nobody would even assume or even possibly think there's a chance that they're probably still in the same zone. And this one, it's hands down without a doubt they're in the same zone. You don't even have to bother looking. You know they're going to be there. And so it's kind of cool. I mean, that's a little different thing that you don't normally run into. Again, the game slows it down. So yeah, it does take, you know, an hour, 2 hours to get a bubble sometimes. But that's part of the charm. It slows it down again for you. And in different aspects of the game, you don't even realize, like something like that, where you can just instantly reply back to somebody who's been in the same zone as you for 2, 3, 4 hours. And now you guys are getting each other's jokes. If a train just happened 5 minutes ago and something funny happened, and then like an hour later the exact same thing happens and somebody makes a comment that just walked in the door like, why does this always happen to me? You know, it's hilarious. Everybody bust out laughing because they had seen it an hour ago, or they seen it 4 hours ago, and they're all still there to get the joke. You know, how often can you guys tell me that even happens in any other MMO that you play? You know, nobody's paying attention to what's going on in the zone, and they're going through it so quickly, and they're worried about their own quest. And, you know, nobody's really becoming part of a community, and you do that in just every sense of the word in here. I mean, just in the zone that you're in the group that you're in the guild that you're in. You know, as you're just walking through places, you become a part of that because you did something that was stupid, or you did something that was funny, or you did something that was amazing. You know, I mean, if somebody walks through and trains this area, that becomes part of what happened today. You know, it's like you're creating history on this server, or on this game, with other players. If you get into a server that has a whole bunch of people who know what they're doing, and you never get any trains in Unrest, it won't be known as a trainee a zone. It won't be known like Karnor's Castle is for me. That's always trains every moment of every day. Yeah, I guarantee you every time you logged into that place, you got hit with another train. It wasn't about whether there will be one, it was about avoiding it. And yet you can change that by coming back and playing and knowing what you're doing. And, you know, it's just weird how you're literally affecting every other player who plays this game. Just like you do in real life during your normal day. But you can see it so much more dramatically here than you can in your normal day. I mean, you say hi to the bus driver and you're nice to him. You know, that probably affects his mood a little bit. If everybody's incredibly nice to him, you know, that's like what Disney World does. Everybody's incredibly nice. It makes for a great atmosphere. And so, but you don't get to see that effect on him. You know, you're nice, you leave, and that's when the effect happens, after you're gone. So, you know, on this game, you are still there when the effect comes into play. You can see how it was either negative or positive. So that's kind of cool, too, for people who aren't familiar with how their actions are affecting people. you can kind of learn that if you're still in your like adolescence and stuff. But get another severe thunder warning. It's raining pretty hard here tonight. I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder. Hopefully not. The room's pretty insulated, so you guys don't usually have to hear too much noise. I don't live in the city by any means, but we do seem to have more and more fire trucks and ambulances going off at every part of the day and night, because they opened up a new emergency like fire station, ambulance station, thingamabob, pretty close by, and it's supposed to only be used for emergencies, like when the other fire departments and stuff are overwhelmed. And apparently they're always overwhelmed because they're used day in and day out. Literally every moment they get back, they're off going again. And that's just because Houston's a big place, so they have to drive for 30 minutes before they get anywhere, and that's if there's no traffic, and there's always traffic. So I don't know why I just told you that. I was just trying to share with you my day, get to know you guys a little bit. Some of you have actually sent me emails and told me how much you enjoy these videos and that you have actually come back to the game because of them. And that, you know, that's a great feeling to know that I'm helping grow the server with really good people, because, you know, the more of you guys who come back, the bigger pool we have to group with people. The more people we have to group with, the more people are willing to come back. So it's one of those cycles where some of us have to be here ahead of time and maybe not have the greatest pool of people, but we make it possible for the next group of people to come in and have a little bit of an easier time. So I appreciate all you guys who have sent emails and asked questions, or just, you know, said something about the video, whether it was, oh, you should try this, or you might want to do this, or something along those lines. Constructive criticism is always welcome, and thankfully, probably jinxing myself at this point, but I haven't had any negative comments as far as just outright mean stuff. I'm not saying I haven't had constructive criticism or anything like that, but as far as anyone coming straight out and just being mean, like I've seen on so many other channels, and I know it's going to happen eventually. It happens on every channel, so I'm not going to take it personally or anything like that, but it's just kind of cool that it hasn't happened yet. Maybe that's a sign that my channel hasn't reached a certain size, because once it does, I'm sure it's going to blow up with trolls all over the place. 90% res in the zone for a few minutes. Tips appreciated. So I see this happening quite often now, and I guess around this level, around level 15 to 20, people assume that you're starting to care a little bit more about the experience you lose when you die. At early stages, you can make it back so quickly, it's really not that big of a deal. Plus, you don't really have the money to pay for it, and even if you did, there's no level 96 clerics, you know, or not level 50 clerics running around with the 96% res to give it to you in that zone. But I see a lot more of them coming over here to this zone because they know a lot of groups are over here and people die rather, I don't want to say readily, but it's very easily because of all the trains. So even if you are a twinked out character, you know what you're doing and the group knows what they're doing. Because at this stage in the game, you probably wouldn't die at all in a fight if you had a decent group, if it wasn't for the trains. It's not very often we get a bad pull so bad we can't recover from it. And even if there was, if we could just run to the zone, most of us would survive anyways. All buffed up and nowhere to go. Yeah, the zone is so camped tonight. We quite literally have cleric buffs, level 50 HP buffs from a cleric. We also have enchanter buffs, the clarity. I think that's finally worn off now. Yeah, just a rogue bond left. That one still has 2 minutes left. Yeah, so we lost clarity, but we had all of that, and we weren't able to do anything with it. The zone has just been capped non-stop for the last probably about 3 hours. Last call for 90%. Is it 90%? I thought it was 96%. Maybe he's not level 50. Let me see, what level is he? He's level 51. Maybe he just typed it out wrong. Because I'm pretty sure it's 96. Kill this guy for us real quick. Go ahead and hit him with the direct damage. It's one of the... oh, he's already dead. He was a little lagged out on my screen, though. He looked like he was still alive. And I know I mentioned it a couple times in the last few videos, but I tried to give you guys all the useful information I have. So if you're just coming to the video or this playlist, remember that when you're fighting the gnolls, or the ghouls, I shouldn't say gnolls, sorry guys, the ghouls, or the dry bone skeletons and the higher level skeletons, they require a magical item of some sort to hit them with. So if you're a monk and you're using wraps, your gloves, your wraps have to have a magic ability to them. It has to say it's a magic item. And high level weapons that you get off of the creatures, we usually say on the item, you know, no trade, magical item, lore, or something like that. You're slacking off. Yeah, she's not doing as good as she was before, but then again, there's no real big need to be the best rogue in the world right now. We're doing just fine. In fact, better than fine. Anyone free to Fort Taquinos? Any more clerics? Yeah, I don't think so. Hold on a sec, guys. You can hear all the fighting going on upstairs, right, literally right over our heads. Is where you usually sit inside that room and fight. Let's see. I'm just checking out to see what I have. I haven't looked at it in a while. And you can see, I mean, I'll show you the stats real quick of everything I have, because I don't go through it very often, so if you haven't seen it before. But I was just seeing if I had a magical item on me. I think I got rid of the one that was summoned. Has the magical thing. But right here above the slot where it says primary or secondary, it will say, you know, magical item, no trade, lore, temporary, whatever, along those lines. And as long as your weapon says magical, or your gloves, if you're a monk and you're using your fist, as long as your gloves say magical, they'll be able to hit those ghouls and the skeletons. But if they don't, the only thing you're going to be able to hit them with is your spells. And that can be very sticky because they may be a lot higher level than you. Chances are they will be when you first get here. They're still red to me at level 16, am I? 17? Level 17. Because I just leveled a minute ago. But yeah, they're still red to me. In fact, I'll show you right here. Oh, that one's actually even now. Let me see if my my spell will take. Because all of them were getting resisted. Nice, 91 damage. That is not bad at all. But since nobody else is healing, I guess I'll have to. But yeah, so I guess at level 17 you can start hitting those guys with your spells. They were literally resisting every single time, and I never thought that you get aggro for things that they resist, but I guess they do, because after 2 or 3 of those cast against a creature that resisted, I ended up getting the aggro on my guy. So it is something you got to be aware of. If you're just casting, hoping one will stick, you may end up getting the creature to come over there and beat on you for a little while. So now that guy's red, and I'll go ahead and try attacking him, even though I don't really have the power to waste. Oh my god, I actually hit him for 89 points of damage. So level 17 apparently is the magic level for hitting these creatures for a cleric. High elf anyways. I don't know if it affects what race you're playing for hitting these creatures, if you're charisma or something else, one of these other stats. A lot of people say some of these stats are for other things, like charisma is usually good for charming creatures if you're an enchanter, but I don't know if it really makes that big of a difference for other classes, like a shaman or a druid that can charm a little bit. Like druids, I think, can only charm animals, and enchanters can charm anybody, whether they're an animal or not. And I'm not sure about shamans. I think they can only charm animals as well, but I may be wrong on that one. But I don't know if charisma really helps them out too much. I know it does a huge amount for enchanters, that they almost to the point where they can't live without it. But for everybody else, the only difference I've ever seen is in the prices you get in the shop. The more charisma you have, the lower the prices will be, and the higher the prices you'll be able to sell items to them. Now, if you're planning on having a high charisma and going in there and buying items and then selling it right back to them or to another merchant for a higher price, It doesn't quite work it that well. I've heard of enchanters who, because you get abilities as an enchanter to increase your, or not abilities, spells, increase your charisma. So I've heard with those spells, and then an entire set of armor, pretty much the best armor you can get for charisma as a backup set that they can put on when they sell and buy stuff. I've heard of a couple of cases where people were able to buy stuff and sell it back to them for a couple copper more than what they bought it for. But that would take you so long sitting there to earn cash that way. And it would take you to the point where you've already gone through several 100,000 platinum just to get to that point with that stuff, and doing all these drawn out long quests that 2 or 3 copper for every piece of item that you buy is no longer worth your time. You could go out and camp a creature and make, you know, 7, 8, 9,000 platinum off of that one item in an hour. And to get that kind of cash doing, you know, selling to the vendor, it's not going to happen. So, whereas you can do it, it's not going to be worth your time if that's what you're hoping that you can find a loophole to do it. I mean, if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, yeah, it's possible. But, you know, by the point that you get there, you're not going to want to do it anymore. So, just keep that in mind. For everybody else, it does make quite a big of a difference. Obviously, as I said before, you can get to that point. But for everybody that just wants better prices, you'll be able to see that something for a stack or a spell that was worth 15 platinum, you'll be able to get it for a reasonable price, about 10 platinum, if you have, you know, 7 or 8 items that have charisma on each one, and not a whole lot. So, I'm just looking at what they were saying. Somebody has to go feed their son, so we're gonna get another cleric. That's gonna be 4 clerics. Holy crap, that's a lot of healing power, and I'm the only one healing, so I guess maybe they just decided that that would be my job. For all I know, Saucy is higher level than me. And I'm out of power. Let me see what level is Saucy. No, he's lower level than me. He should be the one healing while I attack. Granted, with 3 healers, nobody should be this low on life, so they need to stop attacking and heal up a little bit more. Oh, and it looks like ZK just told me grats on 17. That literally just happened. He must have just hit the button at the right time, because you don't get updates like that in this game. Like Everquest 2, you'll have on your screen, I think the Cleric went LD or something. You'll get updates on the screen that say, you know, so-and-so in your guild has leveled to this, or so-and-so in your guild has gotten this achievement. You don't see it for friends, but it lets you know when a friend logs on and a friend logs off. But for him to notice that literally like 5 minutes afterwards, it had to be just the right time, so that's cool. Thank you for that, man. Thanks for the grats. It's been slow going, but we're getting there, you know. It's just taking a little while. And I've actually done several videos with ZK, for those of you who are not familiar with his character. He has a high-level, in fact, I'll just show you guys right here. He has a high-level Shaman level 40, and he's over in Eastern Commons right now. I think he's just hanging out for the day. He left the computer on in the background. A lot of people will do that when they're trying to sell stuff or buy stuff. Every so often they come back to their computer every 40 minutes, 50 minutes, or something like that, and spam the little button that they're looking to sell stuff for, wait around for 5-10 minutes, and then put themselves on AFK with a little message saying, if you're interested in any of the items that I specified earlier, just leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I come back. Almost like a little answering machine. And when they get back, they check the little bar that they have set up just for tells and see if anybody's interested in it. And like I said, in any other game, you may have it where, you know, 40 minutes later, there's not a chance they're around, but in this game, if somebody's looking for an item, they're sit out there for an hour, 2 hours sometimes, at the end of a group when they're, you know, kicking back and trying to relax from the night's raid that was kind of stressful on them because it didn't go very well or something like that, and look for some good items while they're watching TV or something like that. So people will usually stay around for several hours over there, and he's been over there all day, so I'm guessing he's selling right now. And you're probably thinking, that sounds pretty annoying to have to do that, but I don't know. I think that part alone is pretty cool because it's unlike the bazaar, like in with further expansions, or the Bazaar or the Broker in Everquest 2, where you can just go on there and see what's for sale. Basically, he almost died. Basically, sell your items through the computer. Never meet the person who's buying it. They never meet you. In this game, if you have questions while you're sitting over there in Eastern Commons, sometimes that's the best way to get information. Is just to say, you know, hey, what is that item good for? Where does that come from? What was the name of the mom that came off of? Was that guy hard to kill? Because the guy who has it, chances are, was there. You don't usually have a lot of items from other players. Like there's people out there who will buy and sell stuff trying to make a profit that way. You know, they buy the item for 800 platinum and then they jack it up to 1,000, and hopefully if they sit there long enough, they might find somebody desperate enough or naive enough or just doesn't know enough information to buy it at 1,000. And so therefore they made 200 platinum, and if that took them a day, well, they made 200 platinum in a day. It's a pretty good price for sitting there for a few hours. And if you're doing that with 10, 15, 20 items and you constantly build up a big stock, almost like a store, then you're making quite a bit of platinum, not doing a whole lot. So if you have it in the background at work or something like that, you can make a little bit of cash doing that. But for the rest of us who are, you know, going in there and buying and selling stuff, we can ask questions to the people we're buying from and be like, hey, where'd you get that item? And they'd be like, yeah, I got it over here in Lower Guck off of the King, or I got that over in Seb. I didn't see the Poochie leave when I pulled. But yeah, they're not really tight-lipped about this stuff because, of course, all the information about every item is already out there. It's not a secret. When it first came out, a lot of people kept it close to the chest, you know, how to tank a zone, how to, you know, where did that creature come from, what's the spawn time, what does he drop, things of that sort. But now that it's all out there, everybody pretty much shares it with anybody who asks. Because the more everybody knows, the more everybody can share, the more that when they run into issues, people are more likely to help them out, even if it's just to say, sorry guys, I don't know. You know, just let them know that somebody is actually listening and not everybody's just ignoring you. Because when you ask, everybody replies back to you. So it kind of carries that forward into this great chain, just everybody, you know, caring a little bit more than they normally do. It's weird to talk about that, about it like a game or something, you know, like, oh wow, you're putting that much emotion into a game, but it's not really emotion as far as it's just common courtesy being extended through the computer to other players, and that in itself making a big impact on how you play the game and how much enjoyment is in the game. So I don't know, it just seems like so many little things had to go right with this game, and I don't know if they knew it when they were going in, that, you know, this was going to come together to be what it eventually went into being. But I think they probably had good feelings about it. They probably, you know, anybody who creates a game, from what I've seen, started out at least as a gamer. They may not be a gamer anymore. They may have a family and kids and not be able to play games the way they used to. Because I went through that stage in my life where I kind of stopped playing games for 4 or 5 years. I just didn't have the stamina playing games as I used to. I used to be able to sit there with like Final Fantasy and play it for, you know, basically 80, 90 hours and be like, oh, that was too short of a game. You know, and then somewhere around like my 20s to probably around my 30s, I was thinking, you know, that was probably too long of a game, right? Because you just don't have the time. You know, you want to have the time, you have other priorities, other jobs, things of that sort, wife, family, kids, girlfriend, you know, things that just get in the way, and you no longer have a good 5, 6, 7 hours to sit down and play a game. And when you don't, it's hard to get immersed into that game. Like with, what was I playing last? I think Mass Effect. Mass Effect is one of those games that if you sat down for 20 minutes and played the game and then, you know, saved it and came back to it, it wouldn't really have the dramatic effect that it would have if you could sit down for 2 or 3 hours uninterrupted and play. Because it's one of those things that builds up the excitement, it builds up the intensity of the game, and then when you finally get to the main, you know, after you get done talking with everybody and setting everything up and saving everybody or condemning whoever you're going to condemn, you know, to whatever kind of existence, and you get to a big battle, you know, not the main battle of the game, but you get to a big battle, there's several of them throughout the game, you know, it feels like a little completion, right? It feels like, okay, there I could stop. But, you know, 20, 30 minutes is not going to work. So if you can't sit there for long periods of time and play a game without being interrupted, I don't think it would be nearly as enjoyable for you. Just like this game wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable either. It's one of those games where you really have to invest a lot of time. You could play it sporadically. I've kind of done that myself, but when I do play, I play for 4 or 5 hours at a time, and then I may not play for a whole week because I do other stuff. But when I play, I try to block out as much as I can, and I usually try to block out an hour to an hour and a half more than I think I need, mainly because I record and there's times I have to do things in between for the videos and stuff, but I would always do that just in case, because you never know. The worst thing in the world is to sit there for an hour looking for a group, finally find a really, really cool group that you're just making, buttloads of experience, and you're not even coming close to dying, and it's just a really good combination of everything. And then 10 minutes later you gotta leave because it took you an hour to find a group. So if you just give yourself that extra little leeway, you can enjoy it for another 30 minutes. And that may not sound like a lot, but now that's been 40 minutes you've had a really good group. That's a pretty decent amount of time, considering you waited an hour. I mean, yeah, you still waited longer than you get to play for, but it's better than 10 minutes, so it's the same thing with the Cleric. When you're healing, you want to give yourself, you want to heal them up as much as you can, but you always want to save at least enough power to do one emergency heal, because you never know who's going to automatically start taking the hits. I mean, we have a tank, the Night Talon, but the Enchanter at any time can start taking a hit. The Clerics in the group at any time can start taking the hits, and when they take hits, they get hit hard. And so you got to remember that it could just be one heal that would save their life, and if you used it all on the tank, well, that kind of sucks. Just have that at last emergency heals. Just my suggestion. A lot of Clerics do it, not all of them, but a lot of them will try to keep that open just for worst case scenarios. You may end up using it on the tank anyways, but I don't know. When you get to complete heal, it doesn't really become that big of a deal anymore. So again, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode here. If you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe. Definitely helps grow my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode.